cooking pan. And any barmaid can be a star maid if she dances with or without a fan. Hooray for Hollywood! When you're terrific if you're even good. Where anyone at all from Shirley Temple to Amy Semple is equally understood. Go out and try your luck, you may be Donald Duck. Hooray for Hollywood!
All right, everyone. Hello and welcome to Damn You Hollywood. Up on the chopping block this week, the latest adaptation of A Wrinkle in Time. I'm Robert Winfrey, and I'd like to apologize at the outset of this particular episode. This is going to be not good.
Why are we always apologizing? I feel like every week, welcome to Damn You Hollywood. We're sorry. What the hell?
Come on, Mark. We're both white men and are, over the age of 30. We are supposed to apologize for the world at this point, right?
That's racist.
Yes, it is, but that's what I've been told.
Why are we apologizing this week, white man?
Because this movie sucks.
White man come to pillage my village. Because he know how to take over.
Really? You have Iron Maiden's Run to the Hills at your disposal, and you went with that one?
Do you even know what that is? You not punk listening guy, you. That's Kill All the White Man by NoFX. Kill all the white man.
That would be why I've never heard of it.
Not a fan of NoFX, huh?
Not really. I'm not a fan of a lot of things.
Not a fan of that Cali punk scene from, the 80s.
Not a fan of punk.
Ugh. I could have gone with Kill All the White People by Typo Negative. Would I have scored higher? Would I have done better? Would I have gotten closer to the mark?
Only if you actually sang in the style of Typo Negative.
Kill all the white people, then we be free.
I'm not sure. You don't have the vocal. You don't have the vocal range to pull off.
I'm trying not to scream directly into the microphone.
Again, hence you can't don't worry about it. You can enjoy their music. You don't have to emulate it.
Kill all the white people, then we be free. We be free. Who color black power destroy white boy?
All right. Look, hang on. Look, I've put a very hard cap on our BS time of 10 minutes at this point. We only get 10 minutes to screw around before we actually have to start talking about the movie.
Okay. The opening shtick has been reduced to 10 minutes, and we've used up 3 of them. Got it.
I feel 10 is fair. 20, we lose the audience.
At 30 minutes, we lose each other, which has happened.
Yes.
All right.
That has happened in the past. For those of you who are not deeply familiar with this show, that has happened. All right.
Mark, what if you think of this movie? I don't know, dude. I'm on Amazon shopping for comics.
Yeah, I believe that exact conversation has taken place. I got a source material coming up, and I care more about being prepared for that than this show. Shut up.
All right, host man, host away.
Again, tonight we are reviewing A Wrinkle in Time. This is the second adaptation of the relatively well-known 1962 novel that middle schoolers everywhere are invariably forced to read.
I never read it.
Really?
Yeah, I've never read that or Fahrenheit 51. I did read Johnny Tremain, though. I read Johnny Tremain, I read Of Mice and Men, I read Death of a Salesman. I've never read A Wrinkle in Time or Fahrenheit 451, or The Outsiders, for that matter.
I can vouch for Fahrenheit 451 as being at least somewhat interesting, but at some point I am going to have to at least discuss some of the significant differences between the novel and the film, but only in as much as it's relevant to actually critiquing the film, because no, they changed things. Yes, they're going to do that. It's a movie, not a novel. Things change.
I read The Story of O in high school. You know what The Story of O is?
I am well aware of The Story of O. Thank you.
All right, whatever. Not everyone knows what The Story of O is. It's French pornography. It's damn entertaining.
It's better in the original French.
Have you read it in the original French?
Maybe when I read French I did.
Ooh la la.
But
You fancy man, you.
The only language I wish I read that I don't is Italian, because I'm sick of like all the different variations and translations of Dante's Divine Comedy that I have to go through until I find one that I believe is accurate and appropriate. I would so much rather just read it in Italian, but I don't speak or read Italian, so sucks to be me.
Let's move on before I start telling you how much I want to go see Five Finger Death Punch in concert.
You should.
I'm trying to. Got to convince the wife to spend the money.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah.
Just the death knell of all adventures.
Yeah, you ain't just whistling Dixie Buster. All right, post away, sir.
A Wrinkle in Time. Megan, part of the reason that this is a slightly protracted entrance is there's not a whole lot to talk about here. This is just not good. But Mark had a schedule. Mark filled the schedule, and on it was 2018's A Wrinkle in Time.
Well,
Mark,
in my defense, had it not been for Black Panther, this would have been the number one movie of the weekend.
That is not in your defense. Considering
Okay.
Black Panther is like 4 weeks old.
But what I'm saying is, had Black Panther not come out when it did, A Wrinkle in Time was the number one movie of the weekend.
So what? You know, with its like $20 million take.
All right, it wasn't $20 million. Thank you very much.
Well, 41.9.
There you go, Binky.
Now, Mark, I know that you put this on the schedule because you have. I mentioned it last week. Like the first time you took your daughter to Disney World, they tranked you and they inserted a microchip into your brain that affects your levels of dopamine, rendering you now incapable of not at least purchasing or seeing all things Disney related. They've just slowly over the past 5 years conditioned you to associate happiness with all things Disney. And my big question to you now is, has that actually affected the way you perceive the world in the sense that this is made by Disney, therefore it's good? Or are you still in the it's made by Disney, therefore I must see it phase of this particular bit of brainwashing?
Look, let us consider the facts. This is a well-known novel.
That apparently you never read.
That I never read. That's okay. I didn't do a lot of what I was supposed to do as a kid. But this is a well-known novel. This was being geared towards children. I have children. This was being made by the number one studio on Earth that generally puts out good pictures. Those seems to be... those seems to be...
There it is. There's that conditioning. Generally good pictures.
I can't remember where I'm drawing this from, but it's the old, the pitcher throws the slow ball, and it might have been a Bugs Bunny cartoon where the guy's swinging the bat. And it's 1, 2, 3, you're out, and then like the ball just keeps going, and another one comes up to hit, and he goes 1, 2, 3, you're out, and then another one comes up to hit, and 1, 2, 3, you're out, and the guy just breaks the bat over his knee.
Swinging before it even gets to the plate.
Yeah, and I feel like between Tomorrowland and the BFG, and now A Wrinkle in Time, that's about as close a metaphor for the Disney proper production studios for live action films as I can think of. They just keep throwing them, and they keep missing. Thank God for Marvel and Star Wars.
I mean, really, they are a better analogy. I think might be, Chris Vaughn, the pitcher from Major League. Because it's just a bit outside.
as he hits the umpire with the ball.
Yes. Sorry, I forget that there's people who may not have seen that movie.
And it's Rick Vaughn, by the way.
Rick Vaughn, excuse me. Yeah, he misses badly with a pitch, and the commentator, because he's the local guy who has to broadcast the Cleveland Indians game.
Bob Uecker, for God's sake.
I know. I was referring to the, within the context of the film, not who the guy is in and of himself. Like, no, yeah, it's Bob Uecker.
Okay.
Just a bit outside. Again, being someone 5 feet away from the plate.
So that's why it's on the schedule. This was a major release. We try to review all the major releases. There were some of them that we skipped for one reason or another. Ocean's 8. But for the most part, I try to keep to the major motion picture releases from the big studios that are meant to be, if not entirely successful, at being big-time blockbusters. And God help them, they tried. I mean, they loaded it up with the nuclear missile that is Oprah Winfrey. They put in there the suddenly ultra-liberal Reese Witherspoon. They put black children in it. Black children, Robert Winfrey.
Hang on. I have so many issues with this pertaining to all of that.
Okay.
And I do want to address them, but let's go ahead and address the plot of the film before I explain why it's so terrible.
I have one more. They put Mindy from the Mindy Project in there, and when all else fails, they had Chris Pine with a beard. This should have been successful, but it wasn't.
No, it should not have. No. And I will explain why.
Okay.
But for your plot synopsis, for anyone not aware of the story of A Wrinkle in Time, be that the first film, it was a 1990s. I will find out because this is going to bother me until I do. It was a 2003 television film. That's what it was. And now we have the 2018 film. If you haven't done that, or if you haven't read the book, I'm about to spoil things. Again, this book came out in 1962. You're as bad as the people who complain that I spoiled the ending of The Hobbit. You all suck. Wait, Thorin dies? The book is older than you are. Read. Lazy-ass people. Anyway. We open with... I forget exactly where we open. We follow predominantly throughout this particular film the character of Meg, who is...
Meg. Sorry.
I mean, I kept wanting to go Who Let You Back on the film studio, but... Family Guy jokes aside. Who let you back in the plot? I mean, really. But... she's dealing with crappy teenage angst because angsty teenager pertaining to the disappearance of her father. He disappeared 4 years ago. And she's not dealing with that well, as one might imagine, and she has an adopted brother because multiculturalism. No other reason. And I will complain about that later. Seriously complain about that. But she has an adopted Asian brother, and who is a child prodigy, and she's an incredibly intelligent young woman, but if only she'd straighten up and fly right. So we get to deal with a little of that. We are slowly introduced to the, what do they call them, the Miss W's?
Yes.
Mrs. Who, Mrs. What's-It, Mrs. I can never remember the third one. Witch. That's
yes,
Witch.
Mrs. Witch. The witch he was because of the wonderful things she does.
I hate you for that so much. Who are anyway? They exist and they have arrived at this particular spot in Southern California because not only is their father gone missing, but and this is never actually explained, but his desire to get home is such a palpable thing that they were able to feel it across the various dimensions of space and time. So they show up, they take Meg, they take Charles Wallace, they take token white guy Calvin. And we are going to find him because he discovered how to fold space and time through the use of tesseracts, which are an interesting metaphysical, not metaphysical, but an interesting theoretical physical construct that allow, again, the folding of space and time. He discovered how to do this simply through the power of the mind.
It's also a cosmic cube in the Marvel Universe.
Again, it folds space and time. That's what it does. And that's why the Space Stone in that instance is referred to as the Tesseract, because it folds space and time. Once Thanos extracts the Infinity Stone, it will no longer be the Tesseract, it will just be the Space Stone. But
thank you, Mr. Wizard.
You asked, I answered.
Fair enough.
Anyway, they are taken on a magical journey across various planets in the universe by Giant Oprah. I mean, I really didn't need that. Like, I lived through 1992. I've already seen Giant Oprah. Okay, this wasn't necessary. they eventually discover that their father has been kidnapped by the It. I mean, really? And this goes back to the author. Like, you couldn't have just gone with the ID. We all know what this is. And that's all it is. Well, sort of, actually. That might be an unfair criticism. I'd have to read the book again. Anyway.
I don't know what you,
as it pertains to the
don't know
film,
what you want me to say here.
As it pertains to the film, that's not necessarily accurate, but anyway, I'll deal with it later. I have other things. So he exists now in their shadow planet. As it is the source of all darkness in the universe, and they represent light. They can't actually take you there, and once they know, oh, he's here, because they are guided by the stoned saint that is Zach Galifianakis. God, I hate him. But the sheer force of will from Meg when they try to return to Earth to replan how they're going to rescue him, because, hey, who needs planning or forethought? They are then, the sheer force of her will hijacks their ability to travel and instead deposits them on this planet. They are given last bits of advice from the 3 Ws and set off across an ever-changing landscape to try and find Chris Pine. Along the way, they encounter evil Michael Peña, which is really just Michael Peña. Charles Wallace is possessed by the It.
What's
they
his
find
name?
their father, Charles Wallace.
Who?
The kid. The kid.
What's his name again?
You're doing a bit, aren't you?
I am. Yes, I
Okay.
am.
And I will ignore it.
What's his name again? They only said it 50 million times in the film.
No kidding.
Never once
Much
Charles.
like Don't Run is getting closer. Seriously, I have so many issues with the dialogue in this movie, but let me finish this.
I mean, Charles Wallace, a rock's going to hit you in the head. Charles Wallace, Charles Wallace, Charles Wallace. Ugh.
Anyway, he is possessed by the It, which is...
Move along, Charles Wallace.
Yes. Which is... In the book, it's just a giant brain. Here, it's represented more as the synaptic connections as opposed to the looking at it from the outside, but artistic choices, I suppose. Anyway, as Charles Wallace tries to drag them to meet the It, where they will all presumably be brainwashed and consumed, and...
Who is it?
We don't... the specifics of how bad this is...
What's the kid's name again?
I'm not doing that.
No.
The specifics are not actually made clear, but as they're being drugged to their horrible doom, Chris Pine realizes that he can Tesser again because now there's light in his life. There's such a severe lack of actual explanation in this film. It's shocking. He tries to Tesseract himself and Calvin and Meg away so they can come back with proper planning and equipment and actually make a go of this. But hey, screw that, because I'm an angry teenager. She doesn't go. She is instead drugged to the center of the It, which is, again, a giant brain, in this instance represented as synaptic connections. She is able to overcome the It's hold on Charles Wallace and some of her own insecurities because, by expressing love, Charles Wallace is freed, the It is weakened, they are returned home where they can continue taking up the cause of social justice. And that's basically the end of the movie. Did I miss anything major here? Do you feel I've given anything an unfair shake before we actually get into what's so catastrophically wrong with this film?
I mean, I could, except that you explained it better than I could have ever understood it.
Really?
Both my wife and I walked out of that movie, and we had similar reactions. I was like, so what did you think of that? And she was like, I feel like for the last 2 hours, the writers of the movie were telling me to love my children more and be a better parent. That's all I got out of this movie. I didn't even get that much. I don't know when this book was written, but I feel like
1962.
Yeah, this book screamed the 60s. You know, this book just screamed psychedelica, the 60s. You know, we don't need nothing but our minds, man. I feel like this movie would have been much more appreciated while ingesting substances. Substances for the mind. Pot, if you will. Marijuana. I honestly was bored as fuck through most of it, confused through some of it, and utterly disinterested through the whole thing. And I like a good science fiction story, and I liked the idea of them trying to explain, metaphysics to people, and the idea of if only you can tap into a part of your mind, you will allow yourself to travel through through uncharted parts of the universe. Great. Then we got into there's magic vines in the universe that have kidnapped him for what reason I'm not entirely sure, and they won't let him go. And then the kid shows up, and then she has to save the brother from the magic evil vines, and she does because she loves him. And then the movie's over. So, my biggest problem with this movie was that Chris Pine was gone for 4 years. Beard didn't change at all.
I know. You'd think they could have addressed the fact that he looked exactly the same. Like, does that planet exist outside of our normal understanding of space and time? Which is fine. Which is fine. If it does, great. Like when he says, "How long have I been gone?" and she says 4 years, all he has to say is it's only been 2 months here.
Right.
I mean,
I've experienced no passage of time. It feels like I left yesterday.
Like, there's a significantly better version of essentially that interaction in Interstellar. Where
is that the Space Bookshelf movie?
I hate that you say that. I really, really do.
I do it just to get your goat.
I mean, you haven't even seen the film.
I have not.
But no, there's a significantly better version of that interaction when Matthew McConaughey and I can never remember that lady's name. Anne Hathaway? Yes. They wind up going down to a planet that exists, that is orbiting a black hole, but it's close enough to the black hole that time actually is different from where that is to like the general flow of time outside of it. And due to a malfunction, they eventually get off, but by the time they get back out of orbit of this planet and whatnot, it's been 20 years have passed on Earth for the 15 minutes they were stuck on that planet.
Oh, and another really good version of that is in the Orville, where there's a pocket of space-time where there
is nothing good about the Orville.
Oh, shut your face.
Nothing.
There's a pocket of space-time that exists where a planet, when it goes through its orbit, when it passes into our universe, it's there for about a week, and then when it goes away again, it goes away for 700 years, and then rotates back.
The reason I brought this one up specifically is that as they're back on their spaceship, Matthew McConaughey has 20 years worth of messages from his son and his daughter back on Earth, and the way he just he actually breaks down because Matthew McConaughey is a good actor, but the last one from his daughter is one of the questions you asked, or the things you said before you left was, you talked about the differences in time relative to gravity because he has a very smart daughter, and that it might be interesting if you got back and we were the same age. And I'm sending you this because, today I'm exactly as old as you were when you left. And watching McConaughey just shatter his soul upon the rocks of that realization is tremendous. Here it's again, there's so much that goes deeply unexplained.
I think the director Ava DuVernay, I want to say is her name, was really going for racial equality and representation, and she was going. I saw the word Afrofuturism used. I think that was certainly part of it. I think she was going for spectacle and color and all of that. And I don't think she focused on a lot of the acting. I think it was, I've got Chris Pine. He can act. just kind of give him a nudge in a certain direction.
Sure, he can act, and then you don't actually. Then you give him like 10 minutes of screen time.
Well, I think I got the impression that they didn't want to weigh down a lot of that conclusion with Chris Pine and his having to deal with the fact that he'd been gone for 4 years. This was the girl's movie, Meg. This was Meg's movie, and this was about her and her arc. And here's the problem: Meg's not a terribly interesting character, and the kid did a serviceable job in the role.
Acceptable. Like,
yeah,
that's
she's
far from
fine.
the worst. That's far from the worst teenage acting I've ever seen.
But if you're asking me to pay 2 hours of attention to this kid, and all of her nuance and performance and whatnot, there's just not enough there. Let me go back a second and tell you overall what I thought of this thing, because I shared with you my wife's thought and like my initial reaction, but like I said, I felt like they didn't do a great job explaining how this universe worked. Number one, I feel like, and maybe because I had to walk out and get popcorn for my son at one point, and I missed the part where they actually tesseract to Utopia, whatever the hell planet they were on. But they just kind of here was a big problem I have with the first part of this movie. You have these characters dropping in, like Mrs. Whatsit, Reese Witherspoon, and then you have the Mindy character, whoever she's playing, and you have Charles Wallace. Charles Wallace was explaining they would give this kid just pages and pages of, oh gosh, what's the word I'm looking for? Sorry, brain not working tonight. Exposition. They would just give him pages and pages of exposition. You still there? You still with me?
I'm with you.
Okay.
I deliberately let you flail around there. I knew what you were saying.
Okay, terrific. Well, you never know with Skype and these podcasts. We've lost Jesse like that. Poor Jesse had a 5-minute rant that nobody heard because he didn't realize he was offline. They gave this kid pages and pages and pages of exposition delivered at the same pitch that the one kid from Fuller House delivers his lines at. For those of you who have listened to our TV party tonight with Pat and I talking about Fuller House, you know what I'm talking about. For those of you who don't, it's just this high-pitched little kid voice just going on and on and on, droning on and on and on about this universe and everything else, but doing it in the most obnoxious way possible. Like, he's not endearing in any way. He's just like, because they made him a child prodigy, they made him a genius, they gave him that air of superiority and impatience that doesn't come across well on screen. It's not a character I particularly enjoyed or was rooting for. And maybe that's done purposefully.
The problem with child prodigies like that in fiction that is then translated into, be that stage or screen, anything live action, you then need a child actor who is basically a prodigy to actually pull it off. Otherwise, it comes across badly. Like this, for example. Yeah,
this just came across as whining. So anyway, so the whole first part of the movie is you're getting to know Meg, and okay, I guess if your father disappears for 4 years and people think you're a weirdo, that's kind of how life's going to go for you. I wasn't tremendously sympathetic. I was like, yeah, that's life, kiddo. I mean,
the reality is 4 years is enough time for you to have actually somewhat normalized his absence. The human brain has a tremendous capacity for adaptation to adverse situations like that.
But not only that, but I mean, if this is the author's way of like, oh, look how horrible her life is, look how much she's bullied by these mean girls. Yeah, boy, did they undersell it. That wasn't even like close to anything where I would be like, oh, I'm so, I feel so sorry for you. It's like, wow, that's like an average day at school for most kids. Anyway, and then she decks her with a basketball. I thought it was funny. Anyway.
I mean, really, and then the principal, I wanted her to say, like, as the principal, and then you hit her in the face. I mean, the correct response is her inability to catch a basketball is not my problem.
Right. I threw it to her. Not my fault she missed. So there's that, and then we get to the world, and we're no sooner that whole intro. Once they get there, and then Reese Witherspoon turning into cabbage,
romaine lettuce.
Yeah, that went on way too long and went absolutely nowhere. Like they started flying somewhere, and then they went down, and everything just stops, and then the witches are like, "Yeah, we can't go with you. Sorry." He's got,
No, after that, they go see the happy medium.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they go see the happy medium, and yeah, they find
because Zach Galifianakis needs work.
They find out the It has the dad, and they're like, all right, well, you're on your own. Lots of luck.
They didn't say you're on your own. They said we have to. They specifically said we need to get your mother involved, and we have to plan this out because we're going to basically break him out of maximum security jail. We can't go in there half-cocked. And again, teenage daughter goes, but I want my dad back, and yanks them all in. They're like, well, now you're screwed, and you're on your own because we literally cannot exist in this place.
Yeah, look, just the fact that I'm not explaining it well, I think tells you I don't think it was shown in the movie all that well. I don't think it was very well explained. It's just, and like I said, the characters aren't interesting enough to really keep me enraptured in what's happening. So, and then there's the CGI itself and the scenes and everything. Where it's like, all right, well, this isn't bad for a video game, and that's kind of it. I was really disappointed in this. It kept reminding me of Tomorrowland and the BFG. Actually, I preferred the BFG out of all three of those. I preferred the BFG the most. In terms of it hitting it coming close to all the marks that it's supposed to. But I'll tell you, even Tomorrowland at least had something to say. I don't feel like whatever this was trying to say. I either felt like
this is nothing but pointless. This is nothing but endless virtue signaling. Look at how progressive we are. Look at how interesting we are. Look at how inclusive we are. Okay, but what's your story?
Right.
We're inclusive. Your story sucks.
What are you saying about the world and about the nature of man? You should be nice to each other. Fuck you. That's my review.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much about this that I really don't like. The bad CGI, for one, just constantly. I mean, that would have been mediocre CGI for a big AAA release on the latest console. And in a $100 million movie, it's just a tad embarrassing. There's the endless, painstaking degree to which we are inclusive. Look at us.
Yeah, it's very pandering.
It really is. I mean, it's insulting in a lot of respect. One would have to almost imagine. I mean, first of all, to get anywhere in this story, apparently we must assemble the liberal triad, which consists of Mindy Kaling, Oprah Winfrey, and Reese Witherspoon. I mean, it's nice to know this is how that whole movement decides everything. We assemble these three, and they decide things for us. I mean, I'm not comfortable with Oprah as an elected official at any level, much less Oprah as God.
Yeah, well, you'd be in the minority there, sir.
I'm really not. The dialogue in places of this movie, significant places, is so bad. It consists of literally nothing but characters screaming about what is actually transpiring on screen.
Yeah.
I know you want to be inclusive, but there are devices for the visually impaired to see films. They don't actually need the characters helping with that.
Yeah, this, it's really weird. I don't know what else Ava DuVernay has done, but this definitely came across like somebody who doesn't understand how film works. Because it's like, we have to explain it to people. You can just show things. That's fine. You can be creative in how you portray something on screen to show us some of this exposition, show us some of this world building. They're just like, no, we're going to stand a cute kid in front of the camera and he's going to shout for 20 minutes.
Yeah, the only other films she's done in terms that are like fictional, she's done a lot of documentaries and television crap, mostly documentaries.
Oh, well, that explains a lot.
I know. Yeah, the only other ones that she's done are I Will Follow, which isn't very good. Feature Middle of Nowhere, which I think was also not very good. Like, these are all like pandering art house type films, which...
Oh, good. Because this was a pandering art house science fiction movie.
Okay, no. The biggest thing she's done prior to this would be Selma in 2014.
Oh, well, that was good.
It was all right.
From what I've been told.
It was all right. But yeah, a lot of it is, music videos, documentaries, crap like that. Like, I agree. This is not a woman who handles fictional narrative very well as a director. Just has not demonstrated that particular grasp yet.
No.
I'd have to watch some of her documentaries to see if she's any good at that, but because to me that's a completely different skill set. Or it should be, but documentaries, are largely going the way of the dodo in favor of here, blackfish. Never mind how stupid and inaccurate it is. Blackfish. Anyway. I just
now I go to
I can't come up with anything.
Now I go to SeaWorld in protest of that movie and anyone who thought it was worth something. I get a special
Good for you.
I get a special joy. Like my dad's like, "Do you want to go to SeaWorld?" No, not really, but I'm going just to say screw you to the people who don't like SeaWorld. Though the last time I did that, I actually had a guy who like I happened to say something to him, just trying to make friends and be friendly. And he went on a 20-minute rant about blackfish and people who don't understand how SeaWorld works.
Wait, was he on your side or on the other side?
Oh no, he was like a lifetime member of SeaWorld. He was quite on the side of SeaWorld.
Yeah, no, there's all these problems with everything that movie portrayed. Yeah, anyone with half a brain could tell you that.
All right, anything else about this shithole of a movie?
It's just not good. Like, I can't think of anything really good to say about this film.
So we've now got two movies that they've done within a few years of each other that were adaptations of children's novels, neither of which either did well or were good. And then there's Tomorrowland, which was their... And I'm bringing this up for a reason, because it's not that Disney puts out bad movies. Beauty and the Beast was the number one movie of 99.9% of 2017 until The Last Jedi came out. Clearly, their IP does well. Their princess movies, that sort of thing. But their film division does struggle outside of known Disney properties. Like I said, Tomorrowland was a fucking mess, and the whole thing there was, here we want to get people interested in our parks. Take one of our parks and develop a movie around the idea of that part of the park. We'll give you an easy one, Tomorrowland. It's about the future. Go, and they gave us shit on a stick.
They gave us George Clooney's chin, which might actually be worse than crap on a stick.
And then it was like, okay, well, here's these two novels, one of which was directed by Spielberg, if I remember correctly. The BFG was a Spielberg
BFG was
movie.
Directed by Spielberg.
And then you have this one, which has all this star power in it, and all these people getting behind it. And
it doesn't have a lot of star power. What it has is a lot of, people... again, it has a lot of pandering and virtue signaling.
Okay, how do you say that it doesn't have star power and it's got Oprah Winfrey, Reese Witherspoon...
Oprah Winfrey's not a star.
You're a crazy person.
What was the last movie she was in that did well? She is a fixture of popular culture. That is not the same thing. It's not even close.
I had
to
a funny answer, and I can't remember the name of the movie now. I want to keep saying The Grapes of Wrath, but that's not right. The Color Purple. You know how that's
20 years ago, and I blame that movie for her existence in popular culture.
You know how I connect those two? Grapes are purple.
She was nothing before that.
Did you hear what I said?
I did.
Grapes are purple.
Not all grapes are purple.
Not all of them. But that's how that connected in my mind. I was confusing The Grapes of Wrath with The Color Purple because grapes are purple. That's how my mind works. Anywho.
Dude, mine goes through if I have trouble remembering something, there's a 90% chance I connect it through at least 2 Simpsons episodes.
Yeah, that's
just how my brain works.
That is you all over, my friend. All right.
It's an easy way for me to create. I mean, really, it's an easy way for me to retrace the neural pathways that connect the information in my brain. It's a mental cue to help neurons retrace themselves. It's really not all that complicated.
Why does the Disney live-action movie studio suck outside of princess movies? Why?
Because they bow to the whims of, again, whatever contemporary virtue signaling happens to be going on, whatever they think people want to hear about and will make them feel good. And they don't hire good people for that stuff. Again, Spielberg notwithstanding, who directed Tomorrowland?
I'd have to look. I have no idea.
And look, the best star they could get was Clooney. Clooney's not really a draw.
I want to actually bring up the. I want to see what the films here they've done. Okay, so that's not a good list. So like Pirates of the Caribbean, those started out well. That was another.
Yeah.
That was another. But again, see, there's a lot of. I guess what I'm figuring out here is that there's a lot of inconsistency with Walt Disney Pictures. Because on the one hand, Pirates of the Caribbean and Beauty and the Beast. On the other hand, Tomorrowland and A Wrinkle in Time. And it's just, I can't seem to find the commonality. I can't seem to find what's connecting these movies of late, that some are fantastic and others are for crap. So, just to give A Wrinkle in Time, you have Pirates of the Caribbean. Just over the last couple of years, here's what they've put out. A Wrinkle in Time, crap. Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales, meh. Beauty and the Beast, a phenomenon. Queen of Katwe, nobody saw. Pete's Dragon, meh. The BFG, hot failure. Alice Through the Looking Glass was terrible.
Yes, it was.
The Finest Hours, nobody saw.
Nobody saw that. I saw that when I was donating plasma once because that's what they put on. Like, oh, wait, this is a thing.
Tomorrowland was hot crap. Cinderella was a phenomenon. Into the Woods, I think, ended up being pretty good.
No, it didn't.
Okay.
It really didn't.
Look,
it had who was it? Meryl Streep and Johnny Depp. Like, no, that's not going to be good.
Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day. I have no idea if anyone saw that or not. I know my wife wanted
People
to.
saw it. It's not. It's a crappy comedy of errors. It's not the worst thing in the world, but that's all it is. It's just here, watch people bumble around.
Maleficent.
Clown Fiesta.
Maleficent did well enough that it's getting a sequel. Muppets Most Wanted more or less revived the Muppets franchise for 20 minutes. Saving Mr. Banks, I think, was an Oscar nominee and was phenomenal.
It was an Oscar nominee, yeah. And now has, for some reason, several years down the road, spawned a Mary Poppins sequel because God hates me.
The Lone Ranger, which was hot garbage and was a financial disaster.
Didn't they also do John Carter from Mars a few years before that?
They did John Carter, yeah, and that was also a financial disaster.
Well, that was such a bad idea.
Oz the Great and Powerful was one of the worst movies I've ever seen. That I got to do an on trial on that just to see if I can find anything worth saving about it.
Nothing, not a darn thing.
John Carter, again, financial disaster. On Stranger Tides, meh. Tron Legacy, meh.
I think the issue, in all seriousness, I think the issue with Disney as a film studio is and this is both a positive and a negative, they don't mind taking risks. They have such stability surrounding their keystone properties, stuff like Star Wars, stuff like the Marvel movies. Mm-hmm. I mean, those are going to be popular. Black Panther's already made $1 billion.
Right.
Infinity War is going to make a lot of money. How much exactly? We'll have to wait and see, but it's going to be a lot of money. I mean, I'll be a little surprised if it doesn't hit $1 billion, in all honesty.
Oh, Infinity War? That's going to make $2
Yeah.
billion easily. Don't.
You have the Solo movie coming out, which is probably going to suck, but will likely be financially successful.
Yeah, it depends on how much depends on how much reshooting the entire movie cost.
Fair play. But they're also able to do stuff like that. Like, no, we don't like this. Reshoot it. Well, what parts? All of it. We want you to make a whole other movie. Really, is what we're saying here.
So I
can't do that. I already did that. Get me Ron Howard. He'll make anything. Yes, he will.
Couple of things you need to know before we end this bit. They're making a live-action Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It's coming out February 17th, 2023.
Terrible idea. We'll probably still be doing this podcast, though.
I hope so. So here's some movies.
We might actually be making money doing this if the world turns in a particular direction.
So here's some movies to be on the lookout for that are in development for theatrical releases. These are live-action Disney movies. The Black Hole, which would be a remake. Captain
Terrible.
Nemo. Cruella.
That might actually be okay.
Don Quixote.
Wait, that's Disney?
Yeah.
That kills so much of my interest because I don't think they'll do it right.
Have you ever seen The Flamingo Kid with Matt Dillon?
I have not.
Well, you should watch it and then be ready to see the Rat Pack Dune Entertainment remake of The Flamingo Kid. That's in development.
Absolutely none of that is interesting to me on any level. I will probably not even see that movie.
Oh, goody. We're doing another Haunted Mansion.
Well, it can't be worse than Eddie Murphy.
Inspector Gadget, It's a Small World, James and the Giant Peach. Really? Again?
No, the last... Hang on. The last James and the Giant Peach was what? The stop motion, like Tim Burton one?
Maybe,
I don't think it was Tim
sure.
Burton, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, that came out when I was a kid. That's like 20 years old.
Jungle Cruise, which I think has Dwayne Johnson attached to it.
It has The Rock.
The Little Mermaid, Magic Kingdom, Maleficent 2, The Merlin Saga. Oh, boy. They're doing a live-action Mr. Toad's Wild Ride.
Why?
Giggity.
What inspires this?
I'm only going to go see that if I can drive my car into the theater a la Mr. Toad.
I will say this. As far as their live-action stuff goes, they do have that Christopher Robin movie coming out later this year.
Yep. It's on the list.
I am not going to be able to sit through that movie. Like, if you ever want to see a grown man just break down uncontrollably, it's going to be me in the theater watching that. Like, I that's going to be just ugly crying everywhere.
You want something to cry about? I'll give you something to cry about. National Treasure 3, Night on Bald Mountain.
I don't actually care about that. Like, the first two are harmless, mostly stupid adventure movies.
Why
I
are
can
they
live with
doing
those.
another Oz the Great and Powerful?
because
What the fuck, dude?
Do I have to break out the Vince McMahon picture?
Because fuck you, that's why.
That's why.
Live action Pinocchio, a second Jungle Book, Sky High 2, Something Wicked This Way Comes.
Wait, Sky High 2? We're actually we're going to do that after, 20 years. How long ago did that come out?
A while.
10 years at least.
They're doing a Tower of Terror movie, a Tinkerbell movie.
Hang on. Your Something Wicked This Way Comes adaptation the first time around was terrible. How dare you? That is one of the great horror stories. It's one of the best Bradbury stories to go along with that. And you're just like, no, this has to be palatable for children rather than the actual morality play it's intended to be. Because no, we can't actually talk about good and evil in terms like that anymore.
So for their streaming service, they're working on a new Father of the Bride, a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and a live-action Lady and the Tramp.
In all seriousness, though, why didn't we get a third Father of the Bride?
I don't know. I barely remember the first one.
The way the second one ended, there was plenty of room to do a reunion show with all relevant parties. I mean, Steve Martin would still do it. Steve Martin's accommodating like that. I'm pretty sure Diane Keaton would still do it. She does a lot of crap.
Can I just say that this movie sucks so bad that we've now spent at least 10 to 15 minutes discussing other Disney pictures?
Yeah, that's how bad this sucks. Don't see this movie. It's just not like. Again, let me say this again. I can't think of anything good to say about it.
I
have found good things to say about a lot of terrible films.
Hang on, Lily, come here for a second.
Oh, yeah, you're bringing your daughter into this.
I could bring my son, but I'm pretty sure he was bored halfway through and gave up on it. Lily, come here.
Come be on the podcast. Save Daddy from the mean man.
All right, so remember the movie that we saw? Come closer. You remember the movie that we saw on Sunday?
Wrinkle in Time.
Yeah, Wrinkle in Time. Can you, into this microphone, tell the world what you thought of it?
Okay. It was very cool.
Okay, what was cool about it?
Because I was that way.
Okay, thanks, Jonas.
Because there was every place they went, except the three
The Three Witches?
yeah, they change their clothes everywhere they go, but except for the human ones.
Okay, so you like the movie because the Three Witches changed their clothes.
Yeah. Well.
Excellent. No, that's perfect.
Okay.
Jonas, anything about the movie you want to say?
It's dangerous.
It's dangerous. I agree. That you heard it from my son, ladies and gentlemen. A Wrinkle in Time is dangerous. Good night.
I'm talking about the film. No, I'm talking about the show in the scary part. That was a little bit not cool.
Oh, you didn't like it when the It had the guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the little boy was yelling at the girl?
Yeah, that was scary.
Yeah, it was scary. Okay, bye-bye, Jonas. Good night.
Wow, your kids are pansies. I mean, they kind of, I assume they get that from you, Mr. I Hate Horror Movies.
Whatever. My kids are angels.
Yes. Well, sure, but that has nothing to do with their ability to process material that is even vaguely intense.
Look, I'm not going to defend my son. He uses the phrase "I'm scared" way too much. But I'm hoping he grows out of that. He's only going to.
While somehow co-opting the tagline from Darkwing Duck.
It's dangerous.
All
right.
Yeah, look, your daughter seems like she was easily distracted by bright, shiny things. And there's a lot of bright, shiny things in this movie.
My daughter has a very mathematical side to her, but she also has a very artist side to her. So yeah, she's going to be attracted to things that are bright and colorful. And she's fucking 7, dude. Relax.
Hang on, let me rephrase. That is not limited to your daughter. Like 7-year-olds all over the world are attracted to brightly colored objects.
I'm sure my daughter thought Reese Witherspoon in this movie was the bee's knees because of her costuming, and the costuming is fantastic. That's it.
Yeah.
There's the one nice thing I can say about this movie: the costuming for the what's-its and the who's-its and the where's-its and the rest of Whoville in this movie was pretty good.
You can say that. I will not get into a debate with you over it at this point in time.
Yeah, let's not have two straight men arguing over costuming, okay? Instead, let's talk about the money.
Here comes the money.
Here we go.
Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, money, money,
Dollar, dollar.
All right, on a $100 million budget, A Wrinkle in Time, which came in second place this weekend to Black Panther, has earned $41 million. The weekend broke down the following. Again, Black Panther broke another record. It's the fourth week in the number one spot. A Wrinkle in Time, as I said, debuted at number 2. Strangers, Pray at Night, debuted at number 3. Red Sparrow dropped from 2 to 4. Game Night 4 to 5. Peter Rabbit 5 to 6. Death Wish, as we reviewed here on Damn You Hollywood, 3 to 7. Annihilation, as reviewed by the good people at Red Letter Media, who I thought had a very interesting to say about Annihilation. They're like, the Annihilation has an almost all-female cast. It's science fiction. It's horror. It was well done. No one's talking about it.
Which is a crying shame, apparently. I've heard nothing but good things about it.
Right. Yeah, apparently it didn't quite hit the pitches it needed to get the liberals all hot and bothered. The Hurricane Heist, which I also saw this weekend because I have a movie pass, debuted.
I would have preferred reviewing.
It was so silly. Debuted at number 9.
Fine. Well, look, I will take willfully stupid, like stealing money during a hurricane, over actively bad.
Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, still earning money, ladies and gentlemen. Dropped from 7 to 10. Gringo debuted at number 11. The Shape of Having Sex with Water dropped from 11 to 12.
Well, look, just call it Grinding Nemo, okay?
Terrific. Grinding Nemo. Where did you steal that from? Because you're not witty enough to have come up with it.
I am moderately offended by that, and I stole it from Ben Shapiro.
There you go. There you go. The Greatest Showman is still earning money, dropped from 9 to 13. 50 Shades Free, Robert Winfrey and Ronnie Adams date movie, dropped from 8 to 14.
You're really gonna he's gonna show up at your house with a brick one of these days if you keep poking him about stuff like that.
Thoroughbreds debuted at 15. The Met Opera debuted at 16. 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri dropped from 13 to 17. The Post 14 to 18. Call Me by Your Name 15 to 19. And A Fantastic Woman rose from out of nowhere 35 to 20. So there you go.
Look, it's a lot of post-Oscar stuff. There's a lot of stuff that got some notoriety, be it just awards or actually winning things, and got re-released, and more people were interested in seeing them. So the bottom half of the top 20 always looks weird post-award season because stuff that was, in some respects, really, really good just didn't is getting another look.
The number 1 movie in America is still Black Panther. The number 1 movie in the world is still Black Panther. In America,
it'll probably still be number 1 next week too.
Yeah, I don't think Tomb Raider is going to get a huge following. But we've got 50 Shades Free, Peter Rabbit, Insidious, Maze Runner, Game Night, 12 Strong, Den of Thieves, Paddington, and The Commuter. A Wrinkle in Time settled in at number 12 in America.
And it's not going up.
No, it's not going up at all. Worldwide, the top 10 breaks down this way. Black Panther. Weirdly enough, like the top 5 is just full of foreign films and Black Panther. Detective Chinatown 2, Operation Red Sea, 50 Shades Freed, Monster Hunt 2, and then we get into some of the more familiar ones here in America: Maze Runner, Paddington, Insidious, Peter Rabbit. And rounding out the top 10 is yet another foreign film, The Monkey King 3. And A Wrinkle in Time settled in at number 17 worldwide.
And it's not going up.
Tomb Raider, however, apparently is already out in some areas and is settled in at number 23 with $14 million worldwide. So good for Tomb Raider.
And that's before it gets released in some major markets. Again, here I don't think it's out in China yet.
Mm-hmm. So going forward, A Wrinkle in Time is going to be summarily forgotten about next weekend. We have Tomb Raider coming out, and then Pacific Rim. And between those two movies, no one will have remembered A Wrinkle in Time even showed up this year. Followed by Ready Player One. So you've got increasingly stronger features.
There's 3 or 4. The next 3 or 4 weeks are significantly stronger films.
And even if you're,
and one of them might even knock Black Panther off the top spot. Who knows?
It might be. Pacific Rim did pretty well when it came out.
It did well internationally, but everybody here complained about there's not enough robot punching because we've conditioned to like Michael Bay films as opposed to films about actual characters.
Well, this one looks like it's amped up the monster punching by robots. But what I was going to say is the other thing
also amped up the Charlie Day, which is never a good thing.
If they're going to, if you're a parent and you're like, well, this is all well and good, fellas, but I'm not taking my kids to go see Tomb Raider, Pacific Rim, or Ready Player One. Though I don't know why you would skip out on Ready Player One. You know what's coming out?
You might wait for if you're a parent, you might actually wait for a couple of reviews from Ready Player One if you're not familiar with the material or how the adaptation has gone to make sure that it's okay for them. But
well, here's what I was going to tell you. If you're a parent and you're trying to figure out where to take your kid, what movie to take your kids to, you're taking your kids to Sherlock Gnomes. Everyone's taking their kids to Sherlock Gnomes.
Mark, do not take your children to see Sherlock Gnomes.
My kids want to go see Sherlock Gnomes.
Mark, you are the parent. Do not let them do that to themselves. You can't let them do that.
My wife has offered to take them by herself, but
you are the husband. You know best. You should not allow any of them to do this to themselves.
You're acting like a real rear end.
What?
It's a line from the trailer. What am I doing now? You're acting like a rear end, because he was the back end of like a horse or a squirrel or something. Get it? He was acting like a rear end.
Right.
It was a cheeky way of calling him an asshole. Get it?
I loosely understand. I have no context, but I understand the words, so we'll just go with that.
So back to A Wrinkle in Time. $100 million budget. I'm guessing this is going to lose money. It's at $40 million now, worldwide. It's got a lot of competition.
You got to get to 200.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it makes 100. I don't think it makes 200.
I doubt it makes 200. I'd be a little bit surprised if it made 120.
Yeah, I think this settles in at around 100 and then just dies. Maybe it does better on cable, not cable, but maybe it does better on streaming video in people's homes, because you got to consider there are people probably willing to watch this from the comfort of their home, but they're not running to the theater to go see this.
I mean, honestly, if I'm even Netflix, I'm not putting in a heavy bid for this. Like, if Amazon wants to pay a lot, like a couple of $1 million for it, let them. I don't think it's worth that.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, Disney's got a streaming service that they're going to be debuting in the near future. They need content
without a lot of quality content.
Well, they need content for it, and again, not everyone is like us and sees all these movies. There are plenty of people who have yet to see Tomorrowland, who haven't seen the BFG, haven't seen A Wrinkle in Time.
I call them fortunate.
But all of these movies, I mean, just think about the movies that I just read back to you. That was just since 2010. So you figure if they have the rights to all of those movies that they can shove onto the streaming service, they'll be okay. But that's where I think A Wrinkle in Time lives. It lives on the Disney streaming service that has yet to have come to.
It dies on the streaming service. It just sits there as a little thumbnail that no one ever clicks on.
Okay. I suspect over time, it garners just enough interest, as the years go on. That's not just people watch weird stuff.
Seriously, if you want, I feel like that you're better off watching the made for the TV movie from like 9 years ago. Is probably a better option than this.
Does Disney own that?
Yes, they made it. It was made for the Disney Channel.
Oh,
yeah, they've owned the rights to that movie, to the book, for a really long time. Like, yeah, every adaptation of this has been done by Disney.
I'm wondering if part of their ownership is that they have to do something with it every X amount of years.
I don't know. It might be that. It might. I genuinely don't know the details of their deal there. I know they retained. I know they bought an extension to their rights in 10.
Mm-hmm.
Which might have been pursuant to them actually putting out the movie, the made-for-TV thing in 2009, so I don't know.
I have a question. Are you ready for this question?
Probably not.
Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
We need to re-record that, but you doing the Michael Scott part and just you screaming no.
It's Steve Carell is better at screaming no than I am.
Okay. So I actually have a real question for you now.
All right.
Do I read the fresh reviews or do I read the rotten reviews? Because this is already rotten. There's a lot of rotten reviews here.
I think you should read whichever reviews are going to expose these people as being terrible at their jobs.
Okay. I'm going to read a mix then. It's going to be a mixtape
By
of
all
reviews.
means. Look, you read the people who need to have their stupidity called to the fore in a public forum.
Okay. Now, some of these I'm going to read because they're amusing. Okay, that's just the
All
way
right.
it is. Like this first one, for example. This is hilarious. Walter Chaw, Film Freak Central. Turning Reese Witherspoon into a smug piece of salad is probably not the best use of those millions of dollars.
Smug leaf. Okay, that's fair. Like, yeah, how much of your budget did you blow on that transformation and flying sequence that could have been spent on, anything else that would have actually advanced the plot?
Yeah. Have you seen our Metal Hammer of Doom extra on Planet Caravan?
I think I've seen you link it where it's just like bad CGI almonds that sprout on distant planets.
That's kind of what I felt like I was watching in that scene. I felt like they should have been playing Planet Caravan over that entire sequence.
I assume there's a significant portion of the population that would have accepted Pink Floyd as well, because there's a bunch of morons out there that think Pink Floyd makes good music. They don't.
Oh, I like Wish You Were Here. And money. Money!
No, you like money. The song itself is irrelevant.
Moving on. Allison Johnson of Cambridge Day. Luckily, DuVernay is in charge and able to add a spark to the proceedings, enlivening every frame with a refreshing gusto.
Okay, I'm going to say this, and somebody brought this up. This might be another thing from Ben Shapiro I'm stealing. The inability of people whose political stance aligned with elements of what this film to say to just say this movie sucks is shocking. But it agrees with my position, therefore I must defend it, right? No, it sucks. Just say it. You'll feel better. Not asking you to change your political belief, not asking you to change your life philosophy. This movie sucks. Just say it. No, she doesn't add a spark. Unless you mean badly rendered flash bulbs going off in the background. I mean, by that same logic, J.J. Abrams lends a spark. It's just a lens flare over and over and over and over again.
Waka waka. Susan Granger of SSG Syndicate. Oh, we hate this one. We hate this is you. Family friendly yet frustrating. It's a psychedelic self-empowering trip. Yeah, that's pretty much dead on.
The fact that you actually say that as though it's a positive is what bothers me.
No, that was a rotten review.
Still, you get the sense that, no, the psychedelic self-empowerment is good. No, it's not. As a baseline, point of view, no, it's not. I feel like if you actually read that article, it would come down to, I like so much about what this is trying to say, but wish it was said better. When really what it's trying to say is stupid to begin with.
Alexandra McAaron, Women's Voice for Change. Top critic.
I wonder where this one's going.
Hey, guess what? It's a fresh review. The best way to enjoy A Wrinkle in Time is to get past the Hollywood royalty. I was stoned. And superpowered special effects. Focus instead on Meg and her story, and look forward to more adventures for girls in Hollywood's future.
Okay.
That seemed like a PR piece, not a review.
Again, I really have to say it. Oh, this lines up with elements of how I like to view the world. I can't say it sucks. Say it with me. This movie sucks. Don't look at all the stars that we need to actually draw money at the box office. Don't look at the millions and millions and millions of dollars we burned on CGI and then used to obfuscate the fact that our movie is terrible. But look, it's so pretty. No, it's terrible. It's brightly colored. So are Streetwalkers.
Catherine Mung of Express.com. Some scenes are crafted with such care, you just fall right into them. But the overall result feels at arm's length. A Mardi Gras parade. A Mardi Gras parade with a float shaped like Oprah Winfrey, towering over the crowd, wearing silver mesh lame and sequined eyebrows.
And now you know someone at Mardi Gras is going to actually make that. Why would you put that out there? That's irresponsible. That thing would be a fire hazard. No, what scenes are crafted that well? Please, name me 2. I mean, like, no, some of these scenes are really well done. Which ones? Didn't you feel for that girl when there was a nasty note on her locker? I'd have felt more if someone actually, slammed her face into the locker. Like, crappy notes are like, no, they're just words. Like, grow up. Yeah, that sucks. Get over it.
Bob Mondello of NPR, top critic. Bet you can't guess where this is going.
I can guess that it's fresh and that it deals with NPR, so it's of no value.
Director Ava DuVernay has a light touch with these early scenes, though she gets seriously bogged. Though she gets seriously bogged down in special effects as the film goes on.
Again, let me look. This is another instance. This guy, somewhere in his mind, knows this is a terrible movie. He knows this. He is aware of just how bad this is, but he can't bring himself to actually say it. So instead, oh, look, when it's what really is the fault, what really causes the problems in this movie is like all the CGI, and when it's just that small kind of intimate narrative in the beginning about the family dealing with the loss of the father, that's good. That's a good part of this movie. No, it's really not. This is really not handled well at all. But you can't just say this movie sucks because, I don't know, will they revoke your membership to whatever the liberal club is? I don't know. Like, seriously, it's just not good. And you see all these people making terrible excuses on behalf of this because at some level it tries to reaffirm their worldview.
All right. This next one might be our Get 'em Winfrey review of the evening.
Oh, please.
Christopher Orr of The Atlantic, top critic. Judged on its own terms, A Wrinkle in Time is pretty good. Perhaps even
for the love of...
Perhaps even a quite good movie. But it is a children's movie. See it with a child. Or as DuVernay recommends, with a child's wonder. Otherwise, probably don't bother seeing it at all.
Okay. How many qualifiers do you just have to put on this to try and arrive at it's a good movie? See it with a child. You'll have a whole different experience. No, the movie will still suck, and you'll have exposed your child to something that sucks. And you should feel bad about exposing your child to something that sucks this much. You should too, Mark. Watch it with a child's wonder. I am not entertained by flashing shiny objects. God forbid my brain developed. I don't consider this a negative trait. Stop making excuses. This is better than your average music video. There are probably better music videos than this. Stop putting classifications on. Stop qualifying all this crap to try and justify this film. It's just not good. Look, all of the liberal morons out there, especially the liberal reviewers, last week when talking about Death Wish, went out of their way to make it a political thing. And, I mean, A, I don't think it was, and B, if it was, it would have lined up with a lot of my worldview. Didn't stop me from saying the movie sucked. Because it did. So does this. No, taken on its own, it's pretty good. It's really not. Like, how much head trauma have you suffered?
All right.
You want to watch this movie? Take a drink every time that they wind up with every time plot convenience rears its head in that film. You'll be in the hospital 40 minutes in with alcohol poisoning.
2 more and then we're done here. Pete Hammond of Deadline Hollywood Daily. It's got Oprah. Diversity in casting. Good message, but it's strictly for kids.
Okay, diversity in casting means nothing. Like, why? Like, what's the... No, but we have such a culturally diverse film, okay? Your movie still sucks. It doesn't mean anything unless it actually... Like, it is the most irrelevant thing in the world. Unless it actually pertains to the story you're telling. In this case, it doesn't. I mean, look, if you don't want to cast a white guy as Martin Luther King in a biopic, fine, I get it. That's fair. If you want to change the race of characters for whom it does not play a role in their narrative, I mean, you're just trying to make yourself or other people feel better, but okay. As long as you're not actively detracting from the story, I can deal with it. Oh, they made Heimdall a black guy. Heimdall's a mythological figure. Doesn't actually exist.
All right, last one. Joshua Rothkopf of Time Out, top critic. No Hollywood film can ever solve the central problem of adapting this book, in that it inevitably does too much of the imagining for you. DuVernay makes a big-hearted go of it, even if she seems slightly dazzled by her own magical mystery tour.
Say it with me, everyone. This movie sucks. That's all you have to say. That is the extent of what you have to type out. I mean, you should type more if you want to actually justify it, provide an opinion, or enrich the discussion surrounding it. But look at the length. Look at the linguistic gymnastics these people do to try and avoid saying this movie sucks. It is shocking. It is just shocking. And look, to be fair, that guy raises a good point. Like, anytime something that leans so heavily on what is not on the page, on letting your imagination do the work for you, anytime you try to take that away, there's a lot that's going to be lost. That's very true, and that's very fair. That just makes it hard to do. It doesn't make it A, impossible, or B, excuse the fact that this isn't good. Oh, the source material's hard to adapt. Say it with me, this movie sucks. No, but you see the source material and then, all the visual effects and stop. Say it with me, this movie sucks. It is as plain, as simple, and as easy as that. And why they have such a hard time saying it, I don't know.
I can tell you why. Right in the
Oprah owns half of them and Disney owns the other?
No, it's very simple. You go to the Wikipedia page, right? Under production, there's a picture. It's a picture of Ava DuVernay. And it says, DuVernay became the first black woman to direct a live-action film with a budget of over $100 million.
And if this is any indicator, she'll be the first for a long time.
Well, I think there's people who, because of that fact, they don't want to say anything bad about the movie lest they be called racist.
Look, Mark, you and I are, if anyone actually listens to this, we're probably going to be called multiple times the racist, biggest, sexist homophobes.
Have I mentioned how much I think Adrian Palicki is hotty totsy?
What does that have to do with anything?
Well, of all those things, if I'm going to be accused of anything, I'm just going to turn right into being sexist and comment about a.
How do you get over that mold between her eyes?
I don't know. I mean, no woman is perfect.
I'm not saying that.
Selma Hayek's close, but
look, this is just a question from me to you. If you don't have an answer, I don't have an answer as to why it bothers me. That's fair. But
okay. Yeah, I think the last couple of things I've seen Adrian Palicki. I mean, now granted, she's much cuter since Aquaman, but she's I thought she was very pretty on The Orville, and I thought she was very pretty as Mockingbird on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Two things I haven't seen.
Oh, that's why you don't think that. There you go. There's your problem.
What's the last thing I saw her in? Because I've seen her recently. I've seen pictures of her, but...
All right, let's bring up Adrian Palicki for no apparent reason whatsoever in a review of
You
A
brought
Wrinkle
it
in
up,
Time.
sure.
Let's bring up Adrian Palicki.
Sure, we have 5 minutes to kill on this bit. Let's go for it.
She was in a pilot of Wonder Woman that never aired?
Doesn't surprise me.
Apparently it was terrible. All right, so the last couple of movies she's been in, she was starting in 2010. She was in Legion, Electra Lux, Red Dawn.
Hang on, I actually did see Legion, and yeah, she is in that terrible movie.
Red Dawn. She's Lady J.
Oh, she's in the Red Dawn remake. That's right. Movie's so bad.
She's Lady J in G.I. Joe Retaliation. She's in fucking John Wick. See, if you told me she was in John Wick, I'd actually go watch that movie.
Oh, yeah. She is in John Wick. She tries to kill him in the hotel and then gets executed because you don't do business in the hotel.
God damn it.
It's one of the rules that allows the hotel to exist.
She's in a movie called SWAT Under Siege.
Not seen it.
All right, so here's what she's been on.
But yeah. John Wick would be the last thing I saw her in then.
So here's some things she's been in on television. She was in The Orville. She was in an unaired pilot as Mockingbird for Most Wanted. She was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. She was
mostly terrible.
She was in a movie called This Is Why You're Single. She was
Mostly terrible.
She was in 10 episodes of About a Boy. She was in 1 episode of Drunk History. She was in 2 episodes of From Dusk Till Dawn, the series, an unaired
terrible.
pilot of Wonder Woman, an episode of Criminal Minds.
Yeah, she was actually. She was in. She was one half of that psychotic spree killer couple. Yeah.
She was in an episode of CSI Miami.
Terrible.
And that's really
As are all things CSI, regardless of what you put after the parenthesis. It all sucks.
My mother-in-law is a huge CSI fan. She watches all of them.
I really don't care. That does not at all change the fact that they're terrible, especially Miami.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just sharing that there are parts of the world where people enjoy those things.
Yeah,
all
retirement homes where they used to watch JAG reruns and now they watch NCIS.
All right, so this has been your coverage of Adrian Palicki's career once again on the Rattlejet Broadcasting Network. But seriously, folks, next week, right here on the Rattlejet Broadcasting Network, Robert won't be here, but Ronnie Adams of the Screaming Podcast and Jesse Sarcher of the Source Material Podcast will be reviewing Tomb Raider. But before that,
you need 2 people to equal me. That amuses me.
Before that, if you haven't had your fill of Mark and Robert, we'll all be getting together again this Thursday. That's 2 days from now to review the new Jessica Jones Season 2. Then, like I said,
it's not good.
Next week is Tomb Raider, then Pacific Rim, then Ready Player One. We take a break from the movies, and we're going to review WrestleMania. I'm assuming you're going to be on for that.
Maybe.
Then after that,
the number of things I would rather do than watch WrestleMania is pretty significant, but...
Then after that is Rampage. Then we have a pair of TV party tonights, one for DC's Legends of Tomorrow, the other one for Lost in Space. I don't know if you're going to be on either one of those.
I might be convinced to be on the Lost in Space one.
Okay. And then...
but I will not watch Legends of Tomorrow. I can't... Just no.
Oh, this last one, Amazing Grace, was phenomenal. It was probably my favorite episode of television since anything from The Wire.
Your penchant for exaggeration is strong.
No, it's really that good. It was amazing. Then we hit the summer strong, beginning May 1st with our review of Avengers, Infinity War. Then we skip...
If less than 3 heroes die in Infinity War, I will try to start a riot.
Then we skip...
I won't be successful because I live in Utah, and we don't really do that, but...
Then we skip 2 weeks because schedule. And then we go Deadpool, Solo.
Ugh. Like, that's the last... That's like my last shred of hope for a halfway decent movie is Infinity War. And there's this 2 weeks I have to come to grips with the inevitable death of my soul.
So
I have to watch crap like Deadpool.
I keep saying we hit the summer hard, but there's like 2 week breaks in between like each group of movies. So like I said, we have a 2 week break.
Oh, at the moment, bear in mind the schedule will shift again next week because they
fuck
hate
yourself.
I'm not wrong.
So we got Avengers, then a 2 week break, and then we have Deadpool and Solo, and then another 2 week break. Where we'll be doing an on trial for Forrest Gump versus, what was the other one? Shawshank Redemption.
Both really great movies.
Then a TV party.
Oh wait, are you guys like revisiting the Oscar debate from that year?
Yes.
You need a third party to pitch for Pulp Fiction.
Andrew Graham said the same thing. We're doing an entire episode dedicated to Pulp Fiction next year when Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood comes out.
All right. That was such a great year. It was such a great year for movies.
So then we're doing a TV party for Legion, and then we're back in the saddle again with Incredibles 2, Jurassic World.
God. So much of my hate.
And then there's not a TV party, but not a Damn You Hollywood, but a TV party for Luke Cage on July 3rd.
What, is season 2 coming out?
Yes. And then we got Ant-Man and the Wasp, Skyscraper, then another break. We'll be doing Voltron Season 5 finally. So technically, we're not so much, you and I are not so much breaking as we're breaking this particular show. And then we've got Mission Impossible,
Boo.
Christopher Robin. Boo-hoo.
Oh. No, yeah, again, I will be a sobbing, blubbering mess watching that in the theater.
Then we have an on
Just an
trial.
absolute wreck. I probably won't even be able to talk about it. I'll come back from the film and just be like, Mark, I can't speak. I have lost my voice sobbing at all the memories from my childhood surrounding that cast of characters, and Ewan McGregor just pulling my heart out and stepping on it. I can't do it.
And then we wrap up the summer with our annual summer wrap-up show on August 21st. Because September is a fucking dumpster fire, as usual. Especially since everything that we were going to watch has moved out of September. Apparently all the films we were going to review in September ran away from September. Except for Predators, who ran into it.
Yeah. Again, the schedule is a fluctuating thing, and Mark tries to carve it in stone, and studio executives laugh.
All right, with that said, what do you... as Mel Brooks once said, okay, faggot, what's next?
Mel Brooks. You are too pure for this world. This coming Saturday, I have coverage of UFC Fight Night 127. It's not a good card. And you can listen to the latest edition of the 411 Ground and Pound radio show, where Pat Mullen, Jeff Harris, and I express to you how not a good card that is, because it's really not. Sunday, at 8 p.m., we will review that card. Should be another quick one, and that's all we're doing. The Sunday after that is when things get interesting, because we will be previewing UFC 223, which the main event's about as good as MMA gets. It's Tony Ferguson and Khabib Nurmagomedov and there's a lot of needless confusion about this point.
Hang on, let's see if they actually make it into the cage this time.
Yes. There's still a few weeks to go for one of them to fall off, and I believe it's Tony's turn. They've tried to make this fight like 4 or 5 times, and they've just alternated who falls out. And it makes me sad each time. But again, Tony is the interim lightweight champion, and when they promoted this, they tried to promote it for the UFC lightweight title, but anytime someone asked them if Conor McGregor had been stripped of the lightweight title, Dana's response was as follows. Did I say Conor's been stripped? No. Next question.
Dana White's an
Not
asshole.
a joke. Not a joke. Exactly what was said when he said, "No, it's for the the UFC lightweight championship." So you stripped Conor. Did I say Conor had been stripped? No, but next question. So you're not actually going to address the giant elephant in the room. All right.
Terrific.
So, but anyway, as a fight, like that's the best. That's as good as MMA gets. Like that is such a great fight. The co-main event is, I believe, the rematch between Rose Namajunas and Joanna Jędrzejczyk. So, I don't care.
Really?
Yeah. Don't care.
The future ex-Mrs. Robert Winfrey is fighting, and you don't care?
And give me a reason to care. I don't have one. Like,
Really?
I saw their first fight. It ended in the first round. It ended decisively. I don't need to see an immediate rematch.
Oh, you sound like a man whose heart is broken.
No, look, she lost. She got knocked out in the first round. She looked awful while doing so. The weight cut's starting to get to her. Had she beaten Rose, she'd mentioned she was going to move up to flyweight anyway. You're wasting everyone's time. Move up to flyweight, lose to Valentina Shevchenko, like everyone else in that division.
Okay.
What?
You just sound like a bitter lover.
What? That is not at all what I am trying to come across as, but okay.
Joanna Champion broke your heart. It's fine. Just admit it.
How? I've never met the woman.
You love her. You know you do. And you're sad that she lost the title.
I do not love her. I, again, have never met or interacted with her at all, under any medium, any platform, any circumstances.
You think she's dreamy and want to have 10,000 of her babies.
Once again, as a man, I cannot have babies. Even if I tomorrow declared myself a woman, still couldn't have babies.
Oh, you can if you try.
No, you can't. There's biology in play, and it matters.
Magic happens.
Magic does not happen.
You just have to believe.
That is not how that works. Any of it.
You can tell I'm starting to get sleepy, can't you?
Just a little. The rest of that card, jeez. The rest of that card fell apart. Man. Yeah, you've got... Okay, Ally Quinta and Paul Felder's pretty good. Chiesa and Pettis isn't bad. Why is Zabit Magomed Sharipov on the first fight of the evening? This is...
Is that a person, or are you having a stroke?
Zabit Magomed Sharipov? Yes, that's a person. He's a fighter. He's really good.
I'm not convinced of that. I'm convinced you're having a stroke.
Dude, he's from Dagestan. They have weird last names. What do you want me to do?
Okay.
I'm not going to come up with some more westernized name to call him just to make your life easier.
Nope. We're from now on. His name is Jeff Smith.
No, it really isn't. But no, he's
so who is Jeff Smith fighting?
Zabit is fighting Kyle Botniak, but again, he's like curtain jerking the whole thing on Fight Pass. Look, Magomed Sharipov is actually someone I'm really looking forward to over the next 4 years at featherweight, moving up towards title contention, possibly even becoming champion. The guy's very, very good.
Okay.
He's already had 2 fights in the UFC that he looked really, really good, and then now he's... Yeah, we lost Evan Dunham and Mairbek Taisimov because the Russian government doesn't like Taisimov being Chechen. Seriously, he's having visa problems, and I don't know that it's entirely stemming from that, but wouldn't shock me. Again, the main event is about as good a fight as you're going to get, so Pat, Jeff, and I will break that down for you a couple of Sundays from now. And I think that's it as far as my plugs go. Again, I will not be here for the Tomb Raider review. I will be on vacation because there's only so much I can take.
That's all I can stand, so I can't stand no more.
And actually, this is a family thing, and it was scheduled a long time. Regardless of what was coming out that weekend, I was going to mess it to do the family vacation thing. Mark will make me now use this as my one get-out-of-jail-free card for the year. But
oh, yeah, you're done, buddy.
I will... I've decided that the next time you try to make me see something I really, really, object to, I'm going to watch something else and just review that while you review the other thing.
I told you.
Just for my own amusement.
I told you got out of Barbie. Lucky you.
Barbie stopped being made.
No, it just got pushed off.
Till what, 2025?
Oh, I don't remember anymore. I can't keep track of these
They
things.
They kept putting it on the schedule and kept moving it back and back and back and back. And Mark was like, "We're going to review this," and they're like, "No, you're not."
No, you ain't neither.
They haven't even filmed it. The last few times it was like, okay, it's scheduled for this release date. All right, when did filming start? Filming date to be determined. No, you're not coming out. Not on that date.
I believe it's 2020.
Sure, maybe they'll actually get a script together before 2019.
Let's see. Let's look at the old calendar here. I know I have it somewhere on here.
It just keeps moving and it keeps not getting made.
I feel like it's May of 2020.
Sure, we can loosely say that's when it's coming out.
Maybe
then
it's
it won't be.
Maybe it's May of 2019. Let's see. Let's take a look at that.
Maybe it's May of 2025.
Now I'm going to have to look it up.
All right. Anyway, since people have hung on long enough, that's everything, I believe. While Mark desperately tries to find the release date for the Barbie movie.
This is important to me.
Sure, it's not important to the listeners. I don't know. That's not fair. It might be. To anyone out there, it might be important.
No, it is 2020.
Right.
That's what I thought. May 8th, 2020. There you go.
For now. It'll change.
I'm sure Barbie and Gambit will be arguing over the same release date in 2030.
No. Gambit will have, once Marvel buys Fox, all of that, they're going to look at the Gambit movie and go, no. No. They're desperately trying to get that thing out before that merger finishes. Because once it does, that movie is dead. And all the money they spent on pre-production, bear in mind, not even actual filming, but pre-production, goes away.
All right, let's end this fucking podcast.
Oh, now that I brought up the Gambit's never going to be a thing, you're all annoyed with me. All right. That's fair. All right. So that's everything for me. Mark will be back next week to talk Tomb Raider with Ronnie and Jesse. Should be a lot of fun. I will be. You know what? I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing. I'm on vacation. Not even going to tell you. Screw you all. It's my private time. You don't get to horn in on it. Not that any of you do. All right. Until next time. It'll be a couple of weeks for me, but that's Mark. I'm Robert. You're all you. Thank you for listening. Please continue to be well, be safe, and behave.
Oh, shit, wrong one.